So, you were born in Elsham. Were you born in Elsham?
Hmm?
Were you born in hospital? Or at home?
I don't know. I wasn't very old at the time.
Was there a hospital in Elsham?
No.
So I wonder if... Would women have had babies at home more likely?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was 1933, wasn't it? And then, so that was before any wars, wasn't it?
Yep.
So your mum and dad were at home.
Yep.
What did your dad do?
He was, well, he was kind of a chauffeur, an odd job man at the bank,
Oh, right.
Barclays Bank in Elsham.
Was it where it is now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And your mum was like just stayed at home and looked after you?
Yeah. They used to go and work in these big houses, you know, like in the kitchens and stuff.
What your mum did?
Yeah,
To like cook and stuff?
that's it.
And then you went to St Michael's
Yeah.
until the age of... Would you have been 15 when you left school?
Yeah, I think it was 15, yeah.
So in the meantime, obviously the war started. So how old were you then? So that would have been 19...
When I was at school,
Yeah. When did the Second World War start? 40...
39.
Oh, 39, wasn't it? Yeah, ended it. So 4, 5, 6, so you were 6.
That's about right.
Yeah. And then, so at what point did your dad go away?
I can't remember.
But you were at school
Yeah.
and then had, so it was Jimmy next, wasn't it? Was it Jimmy after you?
It was me, then Roger and Jimmy.
Ah, you, Roger. So what year was Roger born?
Well, I'm not sure, but he's just had his 80th birthday.
Oh, okay. So it's like, how old are you now?
86.
86. Okay. So 33, 34, 35, 38, 39. So he would have been born right at the beginning of the war then.
Yeah.
So do you remember him as a baby?
Yeah.
Do you? So even though you were only like 6 or 7, you remember him coming. And then, so where did your dad have to go?
I don't know. I don't know where he went.
Do you know what he had to do?
Well, they were training everybody to do something, and he went into the Royal Artillery, so he would have trained to work on a gun site.
Okay. But you didn't train in Norfolk, you were sent away, were you?
Yeah, I think somewhere down on the south coast.
So how long in total? Was he away for years or months?
Yeah, I think 5 years.
Really? So from when you were about 6 to 12?
Mm-hmm.
So until the war ended?
Yeah.
Blimey. That's a long time, isn't it? Not to have your dad there. And then so Jimmy was then born when your dad got back.
Yeah.
So when the war had finished.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Richard after that.
The last one, yeah.
then where did you go straight from school then?
Straight from school to work.
Was that at the shoe place?
Yeah,
Which was in Norwich?
yeah,
And they were training you.
yeah, in London Street.
Can you remember what it's called?
Yeah, it's Bohill and Elliot.
Oh.
And the shop was still there.
Is it?
Yeah.
Different manager.
Hmm?
Different manager. So how long were you there for?
I was there for 5 years.
And then where did you go?
I went into the army.
Ah, that's when you had to go and do your national service.
Yes.
So what happened if young lads had to go into the army, so they had to leave their jobs?
Mm-hmm.
So how old were you when you went into national service?
Well, under normal circumstances, you went in when you were 18.
Yeah.
But you could get what they called a deferment if you were training, doing an apprenticeship or something, which I
that's
did,
what-
so that made it 20 till I went in.
Okay. Do you think it's better that you were a little bit older when you went in?
Well, yeah, I think perhaps you dealt with it a bit better, yeah.
Yeah. And then, so would they hold your jobs open for you?
Yes, they would.
Pop my phone down.
Yeah.
That's all right.
So you were able to go back to that job?
Yes.
Okay.
Just leave it there, you know.
What are you doing?
Just put my phone down. So, try and balance it.
So you knew your job would be there when you came back?
Yeah.
That was the plan. So you went. Did you tell me once you went up to Newcastle for your training?
No.
Oh, where did you go for your training?
This awful place called Blackdown.
Where was that?
That's down in Hampshire.
Oh right. Why was it so awful?
Well, because it was in November and it was bitterly cold, and the barracks were cold. That was awful.
And were you like, how many were you there? Was there training?
Was there till after Christmas, so you can say November, December, January, about 4 months in all.
Did you have to spend Christmas there, or did you come home?
Come home for Christmas.
Oh right, that's not too bad then. And so, how many lads were there training?
A lot. Several hundred.
Oh blimey! And you didn't know anybody when you went there?
No.
And do you think, was there a bit of camaraderie? Like, did
Yeah.
lads get on?
Yes, they did, yeah.
Yeah, because everyone's in the same.
In the same boat, yeah.
Yeah. So they were basically training you
Yeah.
there, and then after your training, did you come home for any amount of time?
No.
You then had to go straight
We went straight to this place where you'd done your trade training,
Yeah.
and from there you were posted abroad.
And you were posted to Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
So what year was that then?
That was actually 54.
So how old were you by that point? Like 21?
Yeah.
So you went out to Kenya. They flew you out there, didn't they? Obviously. They fly you out there, didn't they?
Yeah.
And what was that like? Was that the first time you'd been on a plane?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, quite an experience, considering you'd never been out of Elsham.
Yeah.
You'd get on this plane and fly over the Mediterranean, landed at Malta,
Yeah.
picked up some fuel, took off again, landed in Libya, took off again, landed in the Sudan, Khartoum, and took off again, and finally landed in Nairobi.
How long was that in total then? It must have been a long...
Nearly 3 days.
Wow. So you'd stop, sleep, get back on the plane.
Yeah.
And then what did it feel like when you got to Kenya like? It was obviously so different to anything you'd ever.
Experienced, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What were you there to do? Were you quite aware of what you were there to do?
Yeah, I think everybody was.
Yeah. So what was your role there?
Well, basically security for the population.
So what would that mean? That you'd have to go out on like watch almost?
Yeah. Different patrols you had to do.
Yeah.
And guarding the railway.
So who were you protecting them against then?
Well, the terrorists, the Momo terrorists. They were causing bloody mayhem.
So whereabouts in Kenya was it?
Initially in Nairobi, and then most of the time was spent up in Nanyuki, which is at the foothills of Mount Kenya.
So why were the British troops involved then?
Well, I think because Kenya was one of Britain's colonies.
Okay. And then so did you ever have much to do with the local people there?
Yeah.
Yeah? How did you communicate?
We mixed quite well, really.
Yeah. And they were generally happy that you were there?
Yeah, they were, yeah.
Did any of them speak English? No.
Yes, they were
No.
quite good, yeah.
Oh, that's weird, isn't it? Wonder how they learn English.
Well, I don't know.
Because you'd think it's quite...
Picked it up at school, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe. And then were there any points when you were there where you were at risk, or did you feel quite safe most of the time? Did you ever...
Yeah, most of the times you felt reasonably safe because you had all the boys around you.
Yeah.
But there was the odd times when you did feel kind of exposed, you know,
Yeah.
at risk.
Was that because maybe you were like asked to patrol somewhere that wasn't quite as populated or something?
Yeah, I mean, yes, if you went out into the bush, you're very exposed out there, you know.
Hmm.
I mean, you were open to all sorts of things, ambushes and all sorts.
And what were there any ambushes when you were out there?
Yeah, there were.
Yeah. On your patrol or on other people?
No, it weren't many on my patrol, but there were quite a lot of instances of what they now call friendly fire.
Right, okay.
In other words, there were people being shot by our people.
Right.
Because everybody was so nervous, you know.
So basically people got caught in the sort of crossfire almost.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, yeah. I say nowadays they call it friendly fire.
Mm. It must have been quite like, because obviously you've been trained how to use the guns, haven't you? When you were here, but then it's a bit different when you actually then have to use them.
Oh yes, and it's different when you have them and they've got a magazine full of bullets.
Yeah.
And you know that you may have to use them.
Yeah, that must be a completely different feeling.
That is a different feeling.
Yeah. And are you thinking about protecting yourself, or are you worried about hurting other people?
Well, you are. You're looking after yourself. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I suppose you have to, don't you? Really.
Yeah.
So, so how many years in total were you out there? Or months?
Yeah, roughly about 2, nearly 2 years, yeah.
2 years. So you were out there 2 years without coming home.
Yeah.
So did you get letters from home?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah. And who would typically write to you? Your mum?
Yes, but I got letters from, well, really, from Auntie Joyce.
Oh yeah.
She was the one who took the trouble to write and send me food parcels.
Yeah. And so is that your mum's sister?
Yes. No.
No.
That's Mum's brother's sister, Herbert. You remember?
Do you mean
Herbert?
mum's brother's wife?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And do you think that's because she had more time on her hands because she didn't have children and stuff?
Yes, probably.
Yeah. Whereas your mum was probably obviously had the other kids.
Boys running around there, yeah.
Yeah. And they were allowed to send you food and stuff, were they?
Yes, yeah.
What would she send you?
Sweets, chocolate, all that sort of thing.
Yeah. And you'd write back to your mum.
Yes.
Did your dad ever write?
I can't ever remember him writing, no.
No. And do you think, would your brothers have ever written? Or do you think they were too young?
I got letters from brothers when I was in training, when I was here in England. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
they wrote letters then, yeah.
Have you got any of the letters still?
Yes.
Where are they?
Oh, Mum will tell you where they are.
Oh, right.
They're probably up in the attic or somewhere.
Yeah. It'd be amazing to read them, wouldn't it? And just see what was going on.
Yes, yeah.
What was actually happening. And then, so basically you spent nearly 2 years out there, which is a long time, isn't it? Being away from home. Did you feel homesick?
No, not really. I mean, I felt really homesick when I first went in. When I first went into the army, it was winter time, it was cold. I missed the comforts of my home and missed everything about it, you know.
That was when you went to the training place.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was horrible. But then you kind of were all right once you were out there.
Yeah. Well, you know, once we got the posting and arrived in Kenya, and the sun began to shine.
Yeah. I suppose that makes quite a difference, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And did you have some relationships with other people there? Did you got on with some people better than others?
Oh yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so did you live in tents or?
Yes, when we were in Kenya, we were
Yeah.
in tents. Yeah.
Wow. It's a long time to live in tents, isn't it?
Yeah.
So then after your 2 years, that was your national service, I take
Yeah.
it. And then you came back to the UK. How did you get back?
By ship.
Blimey. So how long did that take?
Cool, blimey. About 2 weeks, I think.
Oh my God. So where would that ship have come? How did that, in terms of, like geography wise, which way did it come?
I don't know where it had come from, but we went to Mombasa, which is a port in Kenya, and all got on board this ship and then proceeded up towards the Suez Canal and come through the Red Sea,
Yeah.
then the Mediterranean, through Gibraltar, up off the coast of Spain, and then coming sight of England and the west coast, and we stopped outside Liverpool waiting to go in.
No way. What was the Suez Canal like?
Well, they only used to let one convoy ships go through at a time, so one would go upwards, then the other lot would come down.
Right.
And I just remember us going up was this huge light on the front which shone on the canal,
Yeah.
so I suppose they could steer the ship through the canal.
Was there no one else on the water then? There wasn't any other like smaller boats or anything?
Yeah, there were smaller boats, yeah.
So what, they must have been locals.
Yeah.
And then, so then you got back to Liverpool,
Hmm.
and then you travelled back to Liverpool to the UK,
Yeah,
back to Elsham.
yeah.
It must have been weird coming back to like just all of that, and then everything was probably the same here, was it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, getting on the train, Long Street in Liverpool, and heading for home, and you think, oh, blimey, waited all this time, and I'm at last coming home.
Yeah. It's almost like everything's a bit of a blur, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
did that really happen?
Yeah,
And then you got back to Norwich,
yeah.
and then how did you get from Norwich to Elsham?
And get the bus home.
Did you? And then what? Did your mum meet you at the bus stop or anything?
No,
You
no.
just walked
I
back?
just walked up Coastal Road and into the house with a huge kit bag.
Yeah. And then, was it quite emotional when you got back?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, it's so lovely to see the boys, because I
Yeah.
missed the boys more than anything, I think.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. See, Richard wasn't very big.
No. And do you think they were pleased to see you?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. Because they'd probably missed you as well, hadn't they? So would you say your dad wasn't a very sort of like, he didn't sort of like, he wasn't like you were with us, like he wasn't like, he wouldn't have given you hugs and sort of like played with you in that way?
Well, he did play with us, but
Yeah.
it's difficult to remember.
Mm.
Um,
What about your mum? Was she quite sort of tactile and
well, yes, she was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose it was generally just a bit different then anyway, wasn't it? Like
Everything was different.
kids weren't sort of treated in the same way, were they?
No.
As like, well, even like, you know, my generation, where kids weren't, they're sort of like, I don't know, they weren't as considered, were they? Like
No.
kids just had to get on with it. Yeah. And then, so then what did you do when you got back? You went back to work.
Well, got back and had what they call disembarkation leave,
Oh.
and from there went straight to Belfast in Ireland.
Ah. So what's that? What's disembarkation leave?
Well, you have two. There's embarkation leave, which when you embark on the it says embarkation leave when you're going away.
Right. What, like abroad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And disembarkation leave is when you come home.
But you still had to do. You were still part of your national service.
Oh yeah, still got another year to do.
Yeah. So that's when you went to Belfast, and then so where did you go in Belfast?
Went to Palace Barracks, which is on the suburbs of Belfast. And I was there till I got demobbed.
Which is basically when you had completed your national
Completely,
service.
that's right.
Yeah. So what did you have to do in Belfast?
Well, because there was a civilian doing my job, they had to find me something to do, and
What, as in your job being shoe making?
that's right, and equipment, repairing the equipment. So they stuck me in the sports store,
Right.
looking after all the sports equipment.
All right.
So anyone wanted anything to play cricket or football or whatever, they had to come to the store, and I would sign out the equipment to them.
And you mean that them being people in the army?
Yeah,
And did you enjoy it?
yeah,
Yeah. Quite a nice job.
yeah,
So obviously it was there where you met Mum.
yes, yeah,
And where did you meet her? At a dance?
yes, it was, yeah.
What year was that?
That would have been. I came out in '56, didn't I? That would have been sort of the latter part of '55, I think. Yeah.
So what happens then? You would, so were the dances for army people? Or
No.
They were just general dances.
There were dance halls in Belfast, yeah.
And so you were basically, you and some of the other army guys would go to a
We'd
dance
go to them, that's right.
and meet, and then that's where would you go out in civvies or
In civvies, yeah.
so they wouldn't necessarily know you were army people?
No, they wouldn't necessarily know who you were.
And I was saying that as soon as you started talking, they'd probably know
Yeah, they suss it out quick enough, yeah.
who was who. Who was Mum with?
Mum was with her friend. Think of her name, Gloria. And she, Mum's friend, later married a Canadian sailor because this big aircraft carrier came into Belfast and the sailors on board would go and visit people, and I suppose Gloria met him, the Canadian chap, off the ship, and she later went to Canada,
Oh really?
where I think she is to this day.
Really?
Yeah.
So you'd obviously like meet and dance and stuff like that, and then did you like arrange to meet up and stuff?
Yeah. I mean,
Like go on dates?
yes, yeah,
But then of course you had to come home.
yes.
So then how did it work from there?
Well, I came here when I got a job in Norwich, and Mum came here, and then we both had little self-contained flats,
Right.
and it went on like that till we were married at Elsham Church.
Okay. So did Mum come over completely on her own
Yeah,
to be with you?
yeah.
And then so then you got married and then you moved into a flat together
Yes,
in Norwich.
yeah.
So that was 19. When
I
did you get
think
married?
That's 56 or 57, yeah.
Yeah. And then so were you still working in a shoe place?
Yes, I was, yeah.
And Mum was doing some secretarial stuff probably,
Yes,
was she?
well, she worked at the Veterinary Investigation Centre.
And then what year did you move to Elsham?
I can't remember that, Cara. So say,
But you didn't move straight into the bungalow, did you?
no.
You went to Red Lion Street, did you,
Well-
first, or was there somewhere before that?
Yeah, we went into Red Lion Street, yeah, because that house became vacant. And we were near Fred and Barbara
Yeah.
and the twins, because they were only little tiny girls then.
Yeah.
And then, in the fullness of time, we bought the bungalow which you know now.
Yeah.
And that's where we've been ever since. And we were in the bungalow when we got Simon.
Yeah.
And
Which was
then,
1974.
yeah, and then
What year did you start your fire service volunteering?
oh blimey,
Was that after Simon was born?
I think you were born when I was first in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And were you at the post office then? No. You were doing your window cleaning.
I think I was doing a bit of both.
And then the fire service as well.
Yes, that's right.
And where you then stayed for 30 odd years.
Yeah.
And that was because you really enjoyed that, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. And I know you always said you'd have liked to do like sort of like RNLI stuff as well. Had you been near the coast?
I would have done, yeah.
Yeah. So you'd have probably done that rather than being a fire service, wouldn't you?
Yes, yeah.
Do you think you would have enjoyed being in the fire service full time?
Yes, yes, I would.
Yeah. And did you ever consider that?
Yes, I tried to get in.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Tried to get in the city of Norwich,
Yeah.
but I went for an interview with the chief, and I got a very nice letter back saying that they were sorry, but you know they weren't going to accept me at this particular time, but apply
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
which I never did.
Ah.
But I think what it was that there was about 4 chaps waiting in the room to go and be interviewed with me, and like by then, I suppose I was in my late 20s, but these guys they were only about 20,
Right.
so I suppose they considered them before they would consider me.
Yeah, because they were younger and they're
Yeah.
thinking, oh, you're younger, fitter, and
Yeah,
all of that.
yeah,
And then, so obviously you adopted Simon in
Yeah.
74,
yeah.
and that must have been because obviously you've been trying to have children for ages, hadn't you?
Yeah,
And do you think was that like quite tough when all your friends were having children?
yeah, it was very tough. Very tough because Mum worked as a youth leader, and lots of these kids would be coming into the youth club pregnant, hardly out of school, which didn't seem fair, really.
No. When you're sort of so desperate for something.
Didn't seem fair.
Yeah. So then you obviously got to a certain point, you thought, well, it's not happening, let's look at other options.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, the chap, I don't know, he was a consultant or whatever, when he saw us and said, well, it's pretty obvious you're not going to conceive, you're not going to have a family, you might possibly do well to think about adoption. And that's how it started off.
Oh, really? By someone just sort of suggesting it?
Well, yes, I mean, but then, I mean, the silly thing was, because when Mum became pregnant, we had to go back to the hospital again, and this chap, he said, well, you proved us all wrong.
Just like, how did it happen?
Yeah.
And then when you were going through the adoption process with Simon, like, how was he was like a baby when you got him, wasn't he?
Oh yes, just tiny baby.
Yeah. And had you sort of like been through a process of going and seeing him before you actually brought him home?
No.
Hadn't you?
No.
It was literally just you go and collect the baby.
we went to Barbara Boyd's house in Norwich, and her aunt brought Simon to us, and we took him home.
Because there was a link there with Barbara, was
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
But it was all obviously done through the.
Oh, it has to be done all through the
Yeah.
legal process and everything, and
Yeah.
that then involved this woman, Mrs. Wiggins, I remember. And she was so good. And she had done all the paperwork for us. And we had to go to court.
Yeah.
The courthouse was in Cromer,
Mhm.
near the boat pond.
Mhm. Was this before you had him?
No,
Oh, you'd got him already.
yeah, but the paperwork had to be done to more or less say, well, legally he is yours.
Yeah.
And so you go before this judge. And Mrs. Wiggins had all the paperwork.
Yeah.
And he asked questions, and then finally I think he said, well, that is the final,
Thing.
before you now have him.
Yeah. And that was it.
Yeah.
And did you like feel at any point like, because obviously when I had the boys, like obviously you give birth to them and then you have them and they, as they get a bit older, they look like you and whatever, but like, did you straight away feel a connection? Did you straight away love him and like, or did you feel like it took a while to kind of like,
No, straight away. Absolutely.
you just, so you had that exact sort of like, because when you have a baby, you have that overwhelming sort of like
Yes, as part of you.
instinct,
Yeah.
like, yeah. So you have that the same.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't wait to get home from work to
Yeah,
see him and start playing with him.
yeah,
And then it all happened again when you come along,
yeah,
and I used to come home from work and used to get the toys out on the mat in front of the fire,
yeah,
and you used to play, and so I used to play with the
Yeah.
things, and I just loved it all.
yeah. And I bet you couldn't believe it, like, because like probably like a few years prior to that, you were kind of thinking you might not be able to have children.
No, that's right.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? How that happened. So would you say that was like your happiest time when we were little?
Yes, definitely.
Because you just loved playing
Yeah.
with us and
Yeah.
yeah. And do you like have that same? Do you have that same feeling for grandchildren?
Yes.
Do you think?
Yes.
And do you think it's as strong, like that unconditional sort of love?
Yes, I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny, isn't it? And I mean, it's crazy to think that Charlotte's getting married.
It is, isn't it?
So at some point, it's mad, isn't it? And really, even that Ted's nearly 13.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't seem 2 minutes ago, does it?
But,
With his fluffy hair.
yeah. You know, I was so family orientated that when I was called into the army, I went to this bloody awful place called Blackdown. They then instructed so many of us, we would go on church parade, which I had to do with one or two of my mates. We went to this church, which was kind of in the village, which was attached to the barracks.
Mm.
Anyway, then I can remember at the start of the service, the choir boys were walking down. And they looked so much like the boys.
Like your brothers?
Yeah, I choked up.
Aw.
It's dreadful.
Because you it just
I
suddenly
missed
reminded
them so much.
you. Yeah.
And that's why I just love Ted and Pam so much,
Yeah.
as I do all my other grandchildren.
Yeah.
It's just a pity I don't see more of them.
Yeah.
But that's life.
Yeah. Do you mean like Charlotte and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's hard, isn't it? Because you know, there's the period that Charlotte's in now is that period of, you know, she's got her own, you know, she's suddenly got
Got her own life.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It is hard.